Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Shireen and today I'm going to be talking about all my favorite drugstore products. In fact, I'm going to be doing a full face of drugstore products. I have all of them laid out in front of me and I'm really excited to share these products with you because they are more affordable and also because I think that almost all of them are as good as the high-end products that I use, which is really exciting to be able to say because we're looking at generally much lower price points here. And when I say drugstore, I don't mean that all of these products are necessarily available at places like Walgreens or Target or CVS. It means that they're priced similarly to the products that are available in those places. So one of the brands that I'm going to mention is ColourPop. And ColourPop is basically just available on the ColourPop retailer website, but their stuff is so affordable that I think it fits right into this category without any kind of negotiation. I'm going to talk about each of the products. In each category, I might have more than one product and I'll use one of the products that I talk about, but there's just some stuff that I wanted to mention. I tried to make space for it, even if you don't necessarily get to see it on my face. I'll swatch it or try to show it to you, and of course I'll talk about prices as well. I'm going to start out by talking about eye products, and I have an assortment of products here. The product that I'm going to be using is this little Maybelline City Mini palette. This is the Makeup by Shayla collab, and this cost me $9.99. I think this is such a cute, well-composed item. You get this plastic packaging, which is pretty good, sturdy, and these colors, which I'm going to be using on my eye. I'm going to use, I'm going to use all of them so you get to see how they all perform. I think that these perform on par with high-end shadows. At $9.99, I think this palette is very affordable, and the shades are all ones that you would regularly get use out of. If you are looking to invest a little bit more in your eyeshadow collection, I think the Jaclyn Hill palette is an amazing option. This retails for $38, which is not so cheap, but considering how many shades you get, I think it's actually a wonderful price. So you get colorful shades, you get a lot of neutrals, warm leaning, and you have a great balance of shimmers and mattes. This is a palette that I've used on my channel and that I'm sure I will continue to use on my channel, so I didn't really want to focus on it on this video. But again, if you do want to, have a diverse set of shades available to you and you are someone who wants to be adventurous with your eyeshadow and you like doing your eyeshadow, I think it's worth it to go for this. I think the formula is really good. It's not the best eyeshadow formula that I've ever tried, but it is a really solid one, and at this price point, I'd go for it. I did go for it. And I think the color composition is wonderful. I think Jaclyn Hill is a incredibly talented makeup artist and she did an amazing job with her palette. Okay. The next things that I wanted to quickly mention before I do my eyes are these ColourPop single shadows. These are the Super Shock shadows, and I'll swatch these for you. So each of these retail for $6, and they are a cream product. There's one. This one's called Banana Daiquiri. This one is called Lala. This is also a shimmer. I think these are just so easy to use. It's a really good formula, really, really affordable. That's a beautiful copper shade right there. This one is Weenie. Another shimmer, slightly darker, but pretty similar. This one is Sailor. This one is a little bit more sheer, and I like using it as a top coat. And then the last one is more of a matte satiny shade, and this one's Waddles. I've used this the most. When I was just starting out with makeup, I would use this just all over my eyes, and it looked beautiful. It's that shade right there, just like a warm brown in my skin tone. It brought some pink and brown and kind of cool tones to my eyelid, but didn't look too impactful. I get it. Here it is. This is the amount of product that you get. So the packaging is kind of bulky, which I don't love, but again, really affordable product, really easy to use, beautiful, beautiful formula. I love this and I recommend it. I think it's also nice because you might just be like, oh, I really want to try this shade, but I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. And they have such a wonderful selection of shades available online. So if you are interested in working with a really good, really inexpensive cream formula, check out the ColourPop Super Shock Shadows. Okay. This is a Morphe product, by the way. I don't know if I explicitly mentioned that, but in case I didn't, now I can throw that cut in. Okay, I'm gonna do an eye look with the Makeup Shayla palette. I'm gonna first start out by priming my eyelids with a concealer that I will speak about later. Now that my eyelids are primed, I'm going to set them using this shade. They don't have names, this is just called the base shade. But it is a light shade that's kind of close to my skin tone, so I think it'll work. I'm just gonna pick up a fluffy brush. Okay, that shade is set. Something I will say about the size of this palette is that while it is really nice and compact, the shades all being so close together does mean that if there's kickback, it'll kind of go into each other, so make sure that you are maintaining your palette. I maintain mine by blowing on it. So something you might notice about this palette is that of the 3 matte shades, which is this one, and this one, there aren't really any transition shades for my skin tone at least. I think that's actually fine if you're someone who contours or uses bronzer. Powder, bronzer, powder contour would obviously work better here because you can just use those as a transition shade. Those are going to be your perfect transition shade. So I'm going to start out with a bronzer that I will talk about later. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and it is this shade. This is the shade Deep Bronzer, and I'm going to pick up another blending brush. This is the Morphe M513, and I'm going to put some of this in my crease. This is a mirror, by the way. Now that I have some bronzer in my crease as a transition shade, I'm going to go in with this brown shade and my Morphe M506. And I'm just going to dip that in and add that kind of in the crease and in the inner corner. This is my usual eyeshadow look. Outer corner, my bad. I'm using very little product right now just to build up that shade and keep it from getting too messy, but we're getting very good pigmentation, especially for a drugstore palette. Again, this is the kind of pigmentation that I would expect from a high-end palette, so I'm very pleased with that. I know that there are also other City Mini palettes with other color compositions, ones that aren't collabs. And there's one that's basically all pinky browns that I was real tempted to get. But I decided to go with this one because I thought that it would be more versatile for more people and I wanted to support Shayla. I'm going to pick up a flat shader brush, this guy, and I'm going to take some of this shade, I think, and I'm going to place that more or less all over the lid. So that's the shade Dry. It's definitely visible, it definitely has some impact, and I'm going to try it wet in a second as well so we can see what kind of difference that makes. Using some setting spray that I'll talk about in a second to wet my brush. That definitely gives it more of a pow. I'm going to try it with my finger as well so we can see what that gets us. I feel as though, like with most shades, it applies best with the finger, as with most shimmers, but with some things when you wet it or when you apply it with your finger, it suddenly goes from like eh to like amazing. I think that this was pretty good, even with just a dry brush. I'm going to apply some of this purple shade right next to it and next to that brown, just so we can use it as well on another flat shader brush. This guy, this one's a BH Cosmetics brush, and we're just going to pick that up again, dry to start out with, and I'll see if I'll use those other techniques. I'm going to place it right there. I'm hoping that this is picking up on camera because you can definitely see the purple color and it just blends so well into those other shades. Purple is a little bit more of a difficult shade to get right, more so for mattes, but also for shimmers. And again, this is a beautiful one. And also just like the tone of the purple is so beautiful and I think so versatile. Oh, I'm obsessed. I think that looks so nice. Wow, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna go back into my crease and blend out those edges before I move on. Okay, I'm gonna take this smaller brush and I'm gonna use this shade as an inner corner highlight. So I'm gonna kind of blend it in to the more bronzy shade. This one is definitely more glittery, which makes it a good selection for an inner corner highlight. And again, another part of what makes this a well-composed palette. That is so sparkly. Ah! Who even needs high-end makeup? This is so good. Next, I'm going to take this pencil brush and I'm going to use the black to deepen up my outer corner and also fade a little bit of a eyeliner kind of situation. So I'm going to place that right there. And then I'm going to use my M506 to blend it out. But it wasn't overly pigmented and it blended out nicely and it did the kind of thing that I wanted it to do. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that brown and create a little bit more of a transition. And then back in with my bronzer transition shade. I'm going to wing this out a little bit more. So now I'm going to take that smudgy brush that I love so much, that Morphe M213, and I'm going to dip that into the black, and I'm going to just sort of use that as eyeliner so that when we apply mascara, there's a base there. That's good for the eyes for now until we return to our lower lash line. Now I'm going to talk about foundation, and it is of course going to be my L'Oreal Pro Glow. This is a medium coverage, very, very glowy foundation that I think wears beautifully on my skin. I'm such a fan. As I've said in every video multiple times, I do have dry skin, and so this doesn't look really oily or weird on me. This looks just right. The Pro Matte one is very, very matte. I've tried that one as well. I don't really like matte foundations, but from among the matte foundations that I've tried, it isn't a bad one. The prices vary depending on where you get it. It's $7.99 at Target, and where I got it at Walgreens, I think it was $14 or something around that range. So again, much cheaper than high-end foundations that can often run in the $35 to $40 range, and certainly cheaper than luxury foundations. I have two shades right now, 203 and 208. I'm somewhere in between these shades at the moment. I think I'm probably closer to 203 than I am to 208. So I'm going to mix these on my face. Oh, another quick note. You might have noticed that I didn't really take time to wipe fallout off of my face from the shadows. That's because there wasn't any, which is dope considering the fact that I used blacks and a dark brown. A lot of high-end shadows would have fallout with those shades. Foundation is on. If you've watched my other videos, you've probably seen me use this product in the past. It is my favorite foundation of all time, so I'm very, very excited that I get to talk about it in earnest in this video. I love L'Oreal Pro Glow. Next, I'm going to move on to concealer. This is also a ColourPop product. This is in the shade Medium 28. ColourPop concealers have such a wonderful shade range. This costs, I believe, $6.5. It has a matte finish. I don't think that it looks too drying, and I think that it is fairly full coverage. With this, I do tend to use a little bit more than I would with Shape Tape because I think that's what it takes to get it to the coverage level that I want. But once I do, it does build up to the level that I'm looking for, which not all concealers do. Another important thing to know about this product is that it does darken as it dries, and so this will slowly darken on my face, and that's really like fine, but it is an important consideration when you're picking your shade, because again, it doesn't look on your face how it does on the tube. I don't know if you know about Findation, but I found that that's a really, really good resource. It's basically a website where you input your known correct shade in the foundation and or concealer that you currently use, and it gives you your match in other concealers and foundations, and it'll also tell you if that particular line doesn't have a good shade match for you, which is really, really helpful to know, instead of giving you an approximation that's kind of too far away to actually be useful for you, because not all of us will have a shade match in every single range. Highly recommend using Findation if you're going to buy this concealer. Only $6.50, performs like a high-end concealer. I like this just about as much as I like my Tarte Shape Tape concealer. Next, I'm going to talk about this face powder. This is the RCMA, the original No Color powder. It's just a translucent powder. It comes in this like really actually lame and unfortunate Parmesan little pepper shaker, but really good powder. I'm not really a lover of face powder, so I don't have a ton of like nuanced opinions on it. I don't use it every day, but I have done a side-by-side test of this with the Laura Mercier Translucent Loose Setting Powder, and this looked exactly the same and wore exactly the same as that powder, and that powder is I think $40, and this one is $12, and you get so much more product in here. So this is a really good deal. Like it would take you a few years of like daily use to run through this, I would think. The only reason I use the Laura Mercier one more, as you've seen in my videos, and have it on my vanity is because the packaging is more convenient. But once I run out of that one, I'm just gonna dump this in there and just keep using this because I think this is just as good and so much more affordable. There's a bunch of powder here, so I'm just gonna take that on my usual brush, which is the Morphe M438. God, they might have different packaging. I bought this like 4 years ago, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm just gonna set my under eyes with this product. Maybe some other places too. There's that. I'm not gonna use any more because then it'll cover up my beautiful glowy foundation, and I wouldn't normally use more powder than that anyway. Let's do my under eyes. So back to this palette. So for my lower lash line, I'm going to start out with this pencil brush, and I'm just gonna dip that into my bronzer, and I'm gonna run that more towards the outer corner and connect it up top. You've seen this technique before. I'm not really liking how that pencil brush is doing, so I'm gonna swap that out for this other larger pencil brush. See how this goes. I like that better. At least it's quicker. Okay, good enough. Then I'm going to take that smudgy brush, the 213, and I'm going to dip that into the brown shade. Probably not going to use the black on the lower lash line, to be honest. I'm just going to use that brush to connect the outer corner lash line to the outer corner lid. Okay, I'm going to quickly wipe it off, and then I'm going to dip that same brush into the purple shade and then lay it down next to it. When I did a trial run of this look, this is a step where I was really, really impressed, because a lot of shimmers flake on my lower lash line because there are so many folds in my skin, and this not only didn't flake, but it still has like the shimmer element to it. It didn't turn into like a lame matte either. It performed so well. Then I'm going to put the bronze shade, same brush, just wiped it off, next to the purple. Same thing with the bronze. It also looks really beautiful in the lower lash line. And then for the lightest shade, I'm going to take the same brush that I used for my inner corner, and I'm going to just connect my inner corner and the lower lash line with a little bit of sparkle. Eyeshadow done. I used quite a few brushes, but I also used quite a few colors. A quick note on my brushes. I'm not really talking through my brushes, I know, but the brushes that I use do tend to be more affordable. A lot of the ones that I use are from a BH Cosmetics brush set that I think had 16 pieces and cost $30 or $40, really good prices. I also use Morphe brushes, which while they aren't like the cheapest brushes in the world, they're also not at all expensive. I think that they can, for the most part, count as drugstore. Each of the eyeshadow brushes that I have cost between like $3 and $6 or $7, which is really good, and you don't need as many as I do. I just have a lot because I use a lot of more colorful looks, and it helps me not have to wash my brushes as often to have a good selection. But I think that you could have 5 or 6 brushes and have all the eyeshadow brushes that you need. The face brushes by Morphe do tend to be a little bit more expensive. I think face brushes are a great place to turn to BH Cosmetics or Wet n Wild. Those like really cheaper brush brands if you don't want to spend that much on them. Real Techniques also has some high-end quality brushes available, so you can do that. But I don't have any like Wayne Goss brushes or Smith brushes or like really expensive kabukis or anything like that. I do for the most part use affordable brushes, so anything that I use is probably going to be on the cheaper side of things. Next, I'm going to move on to this little duo. So this is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow Contouring Palette Contour in the shade Dolce de Leche. This is one of the first makeup products I ever bought, and this is my second one of this because I hit pan on this shade and the other one, and then this shade broke, and I was like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna get a new one. I'm not gonna use this shade today, but this is the shade that I use, this like banana powder, to set my concealer for the longest time. At that point, I was just using the Bare Minerals Complete Coverage Serum Concealer, the one that I used in my glowy skin video, and I was setting it with this, and it looked really good, and it kept the concealer in place. I'm going to be using this shade to contour. I have been using this less and less just because I did realize that I preferred the shade of my Hoola Benefit bronzer, but this is a very, very good powder. So I'm just going to take this contouring brush right here. Oh, this product, by the way, $4.99 on Ulta and $3.94 at Target. Wet n Wild is a very, very, very affordable drugstore makeup brand, and they have a lot of really excellent products. I know that many people love their foundation. I am personally not a fan. I think it's called the Photo Focus foundation, but that one's like a $5 or $6 foundation that a lot of people like. So maybe consider checking that one out if your foundation needs and preferences don't perfectly align with mine. I'm really just using this to sculpt out and chisel. I'm not bringing it as far out as I would a bronzer. And I think that it is such a good shade for contour because it really does look like a shadow on me. Maybe I should start using this. I am also going to do a nose contour just because why not? I'm going to take my usual nose contour brush and just do my regular kind of carefree technique. I will soften this out with setting spray as always. So there's that contour powder, really, really good product. Should go back to using it. Next, I'm going to talk about this butter bronzer that I've been holding this whole time and using as a mirror. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer in the shade Deep Bronzer. They used to only have one shade called Bronzer, which was way too light for me. I think it is a little inappropriate that the shade that matches my skin is Deep Bronzer and I have medium to tan skin. But they do have a range of bronzers. I don't know if the darkest shade would work on the darkest skin tone, but at least they do have a range that I think would cater to a variety of skin tones. And this is one of the more expensive products in this set at the place where I got it. So I got it at Ulta for $15.99. Ulta is a retailer that has all of the shades available. I know you can find it for $8.99 at Target, but I still think Target only sells the shade bronzer. So if you are a lighter skin tone than me, you might want to just go to Target and get it for a little cheaper there. But if you do have a skin tone where you might need a shade that's lighter than the regular bronzer shade or darker, $14.99 on Ulta. Really creamy formula, really sturdy packaging. You get a nice high quality mirror. And then this little thing was in here. This is like a spot. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, same brush. I'm going to take some of this bronzer. I do think that it's a very good shade for me. I think that this has a little bit more of a satiny kind of finish. No shimmer, but not the most matte product I've ever used. And I'm just going to be more liberal with it than I was with that contour powder. Okay, feeling bronzed up with this Physicians Formula bronzer. Excellent product, highly recommend. I know that when people do a full face of drugstore video, this is generally the bronzer that they talk about. I do think that it is that good. Speaking of hyped up products, Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso. Ugh, I use this so many times on my channel. I do think it is, again, that good. Similar packaging to the Physicians Formula one. You get a little mirror. This mirror is, again, still a good mirror, but I find less useful because it is smaller. And this costs $7.99. This is probably my favorite blush of all time. And it is drugstore. So, again, this one, the foundation, there are some really incredible things at the drugstore. Okay, I'm going to take my usual blush brush, the Morphe M530. You've seen me do this so many times on this channel before. I'm just going to add this beautiful corally flush to my cheeks. They also do have other really wonderful shades. I know people talk about Luminoso, and I think there's something like special about Luminoso and like the non-glittery but still like glowy sheen that it brings. For highlighter, I'm going to talk about this one, and I'm going to use this one, but I'm also going to mention another. So this is the Mary Lou Luminizer by The Balm, and I've been using this for a while. This was my second ever highlighter, and the other one I'm going to talk about is my first ever highlighter. This one, more expensive than I thought it was. This is $24, which is, I don't know if that's drugstore pricing anymore. I feel like that's a little cheaper than a lot of high-end highlighters would be, but not really by much. So again, I'm going to use it because I think it's a beautiful product, but I'm going to talk about a couple other highlighters as well. So the first ever highlighter that I had was a ColourPop Super Shock Cheek product. Those ones cost $8, the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek highlighters, or I think they're just called Super Shock highlighters. And that was a really like beautiful gold champagne shade. It was a cream formula, so I had to tap it on with my finger. I thought it lasted really well. I thought it brought a lot of impact. It was a little bit more glittery and a little less glowy than this. Another option that you have are the Wet n Wild highlighters, which people really love. There's again a pink one, a champagne one. I've also had those at some point in my life. To me, those felt just a little too glittery, and I did give them away, but they're, again, not that glittery on the spectrum of how glittery highlighters can be. I did just apply my mascara off camera real quick. I did use my Benefit Roller Lash Mini because I actually don't have any drugstore mascaras on hand right now. Mascara is something that does go bad, so even though I have used drugstore mascaras in the past, I just don't have them anymore, and I didn't want to purchase one just for this video, knowing that I wouldn't choose to use it over this one. This guy is $12 because I exclusively use the Mini, because I have this theory that Minis just work better because they clump less and they don't dry out as quickly for the amount of product that you get, etc, etc. I won't talk about this more though. I did use the L'Oreal Lash Paradise for about 7 months of my life. At that point, it was my favorite mascara, and it was affordable, which I loved about it. It did start to clump on me over time though, so I did stop using it. Sorry, it didn't start to clump over time. I started to get fallout and transfer from it. Okay, there we go. Kind of towards the end, but I didn't have that problem with it at all in the beginning, and I thought that it lasted so well. The L'Oreal Lash Paradise is $9.99 at Ulta and $6.99 at Target. Really good price point for a mascara, especially given that a mascara is something that you do have to replace regularly every 3 months or whenever it runs out, whichever one comes faster. I do also want to note that although I didn't actually use a drugstore mascara in this video, I don't think that drugstore mascaras are worse than high-end ones. I also hate lots of high-end ones, and it just happens to be that the one that I like at the moment and for about the past year is a high-end mascara, but I don't think that mascaras are an area where drugstore products fail. Brow products are an area where I feel that drugstore products fail, or at least are a little bit behind. The one that I have here is a drugstore brow product. This is the CoverGirl Ultra Fine Brow Pencil in the shade Rich Brown. This is just the one that I have now. It has a spoolie on one end, which is great, and the actual pencil on the other. I'm actually very pleased with the color of this product, and that's why I chose to include it in this video, because I feel that frequently my problem with drugstore brow products is that they do tend to run warm, which is not something that I want. My problem with this is that it's not very easy to get the color to deposit, which makes it hard to create precise strokes, even though the tin is so thin and so fine. It just it takes too much pressure and force for me to be able to do that, and that is how I prefer to do my brows. You can see right now I'm having some trouble. But if that isn't what you want out of your brow product and you do want something a little bit more sheer, this will do it, and this will last for a comfortable amount of time. This product is $7.99 and they have a variety of shades. The color range looked pretty good to me. Another product that I did want to mention that I did use for a while and stopped using is the ColourPop brow pencil. ColourPop makes yet another appearance. That one costs $5.50 and that is called the ColourPop Precision Brow Pencil. That one, I think, honestly, formula-wise, performed very similarly to the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow pencil, which is a very highly regarded and also high-end brow pencil. My problem with that one, and ultimately why I stopped using it, even though it is so much more affordable than the Precisely My Brow, which is the one that I regularly use now, was that it ran too warm. Like, the shade that was the right amount of darkness for my hair color was just too warm for the color that I want my brows to be. So I stopped using it, but really, really good formula. If you find a color match that works for you, I do recommend this product. I am sad that I haven't had more luck with drugstore brow products, because brow products are something that I replace regularly. For me, it's concealer, mascara, and brow pencil, where every few months I'll need a new one, and so it does become a fairly regular expense, as opposed to, honestly, my foundations last me a long time because I don't wear it every day, but a lipstick or an eyeshadow palette, or God, I don't think I'm ever gonna run through a blush. I have hit pan on a bronzer, and I have certainly hit pan on a highlighter. Probably still have to replace a lot. I am kind of disappointed that I don't have a better drugstore recommendation for you, but those are two that are good products. It's just neither of those have been my perfect fit, and I do have cons to each of them. Oh, another mascara that I wanted to mention, completely forgot about this, is the ColourPop mascara. It's called the ColourPop Mascara, the ColourPop Volumizing Mascara. It's $8 and they come in so many cool colors. I have this gorgeous electric blue one. It's called Blue Ya Mind, and they're really good. They're volumizing. I'm not going to put it on right now because it wouldn't really work with my look, otherwise I would have. This does come in a black. Really good, solid product, $8. I stand by it. Again, I don't prefer it to my roller lash, but this is definitely the best and by far the most affordable colored mascara that I've ever tried. So especially if you want to get into colored mascaras. Next, I'm gonna do my lip liner. Yeah, so this is a $3 NYX lip liner. This one is in the shade Bloom 836. I actually haven't used this particular lip liner yet, but there are a lot of shades for the NYX lip liners, and so I have used their formula before, and I'm going to use this because it sort of matches. Actually, now that I see it, it doesn't really match at all. Whatever, it's a dark lip liner with the lipstick that I'm planning on using. The NYX lip liner formula is really, really creamy, glides right on, wears beautifully, is hydrating. Again, this is only $3. I think lip liners are definitely something where you can really, really safely just stick with the drugstore and save yourself some money. Do I do that all the time? No, I do get sucked in by the high-end lip liners, and I do think that it's unnecessary. I've been using too many peachy brown nudes on my channel. So there's the NYX lip liner, highly recommend with no reservations whatsoever. Now we're going to move on to a lip product, and these are also ColourPop. These are the ColourPop Ultra Satin lipsticks. I have 7 of them, and I love them. I think this is a really excellent formula, and these cost $7 each, which is really, really affordable. You get a great amount of product. I'm like struggling to hold all of them. I will swatch them on my arm for you once I apply the one that I intend to wear. The packaging is good. The only thing I will say is that the label does wear off over time, but it's okay because you get the shade on the base. The shade that I'm going to put on is freaking Frack. This is one of those shades where I get so many compliments on it whenever I wear it, and I never really expect to, but I do. It is a little bit more of a unique shade, so I guess that's why, and you're about to see how much my lip liner doesn't match with it. Oh God. I would have been better off just going with a nude lip liner. Whatever, it's not looking disastrous. And this is a really full coverage type lipstick, super pigmented, so it is going to cover up that hot pink that I laid down like an idiot with no foresight. So these are called Ultra Satin Lips, which I think is a perfect name for them. They definitely do have a satin finish. They're very non-drying. I don't have any of the ColourPop Ultra Matte Lips. I did have a couple at some point and I got rid of them because they were so drying on me. I don't recommend them. I haven't tried their gloss formula, but I have heard that it's pretty good. So there's the shade Frickin' Frack. It's good enough, whatever. There's Frickin' Frack. Another sort of darker shade that I have is Lost. This one's more of a cool toned red shade. So you have those blue tones in there, but definitely more of a darker red than a true red. And this comes on the lips very, very evenly. It might look a little patchy on my arm. It isn't on the lips. Next I'll do Tansy. This one's a brown shade. It is a little bit more of a bold color to wear for sure on your lips, but it looks very editorial and edgy and cool. Next, I have Calypso, which is a darker pink. Next, I'll do Echo Park, which is a lighter version of Calypso. Still a little bit more on the cool tone side. Next, I have November, which is more of a corally pink. Really excited to wipe these off my arm. And then we have my favorite one, Screenshot. This one is a peachy brown and the lightest shade on my lips, at least. This one looks the lightest. And there you have it. All my ColourPop lipsticks. This is, oh my God, this is my talk. This is a very, very comfortable, amazing, very affordable product that I highly encourage you to check out if you feel that you would like the finish. Also, oh God, it's staining. Also, it's definitely not transfer proof, but it does wear pretty well, and I would say that it is more long wearing than a regular lipstick, but not quite as long wearing as a liquid lipstick that is matte. Matte liquid lipsticks. And then for my final product, I have the Pixi Glow Mist. This one costs $15, so again, on the more expensive side of things in terms of the products that we're talking about today. This is with propolis and argan oil. I don't know how to say that. I barely know what that is. Anyway, it's a very glowy, hydrating setting spray. I really love it. I've used it on my channel before. in my glowy video and probably some other videos as well. And I just like to spray my beauty blender. I've heard that Flower Beauty and Real Techniques are both drugstore brands that make good alternatives to the beauty blender. I use my beauty blender to soften out my powder products and my contour. So that is how I prefer to use setting spray. So there's my full face of more or less all drugstore makeup. Something that I do want to emphasize is that this makeup isn't just good for the drugstore, it's really good makeup that happens to be at a more affordable price point. So I very much so do encourage you to check it out. Some of my favorite all-time products were included in this video just now. And for the categories where I didn't have something drugstore available, I did try to tell you about some alternatives that I have tried in the past and think are good. And if you have any suggestions for videos that you would like me to do, please leave them in the comments down below. This video was actually a suggestion left by one of my subscribers, and my channel is still itty bitty. So if you suggest something, there's a really good chance that I will do it, whether it be a review or a tutorial. Other than that, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Like and subscribe if you would like to support my channel, and I hope that I see you back for my next video.